April 29th, 1945. The door that closed forever. The metal door slams shut. Dust falls from the ceiling. Somewhere above, another explosion shakes the ground. A light bulb swings back and forth, throwing long shadows across a narrow underground corridor. Adolf Hitler stops walking. For the first time in years, there are no crowds outside. No speeches, no applause, only concrete walls, stale air, and the sound of Berlin dying above his head. It is late at night, April 29th, 1945. The city is no longer a capital. It is a battlefield. Soviet soldiers are moving closer with every hour, taking streets, buildings, lives. The war is finished, even if no one dares to say the word out loud. Deep below the ruined city, Hitler sits in a reinforced bunker, not in a command room, but in a small private space that feels more like a prison cell than a headquarters. He is 56 years old. His hands shake. His back is bent. The man who once spoke for hours now struggles to stand for minutes. He knows the truth. There will be no escape, no rescue, no miracle. And then, in the middle of this collapse, he gives an unexpected order. He turns to his assistant and says quietly, "Prepare the documents. There will be a wedding tonight." The room freezes. A wedding? Here? Now? The walls are shaking. The city is burning. And Adolf Hitler wants to get married. The woman is Eva Braun. She has been part of his life for 14 years, but never part of his image. She lived nearby, then hidden, then underground. She smiled in private and disappeared in public. Germany never saw her standing beside him. She met Hitler when she was only 17. From that moment, her life became waiting. Waiting for recognition. Waiting for a future. Waiting for a promise that never came. Twice, she tried to end her life. Not because he abused her, but because she felt erased. Still, she stayed. Now, as others beg her to leave Berlin, as secretaries and officers search for escape routes, Eva Braun refuses. She says one sentence again and again. "I stay." That decision changes everything. Hitler understands something in that moment. Not love, not romance, loyalty. Absolute, personal, unquestioning loyalty. And in his mind, that loyalty deserves a reward, even if it comes at the very end. This wedding is not about happiness. It is about order, control, closure. Hitler wants his ending to be complete. Marriage, a will, a final statement, and then death. Shortly after midnight, inside a cramped room normally used for storage, the ceremony begins. No decorations, no music, no guests in formal clothes. Only a few officials, silent and pale, standing close to the walls. Eva Braun wears a simple light-colored dress. Her hair is neat. Her posture is calm. Too calm. Hitler wears a plain dark jacket. No uniform. No symbols of power. A civil officer reads the legal words. His voice trembles slightly as explosions echo through the ground. "Do you take this woman as your lawful wife?" "Yes," Hitler answers. "And do you take this man?" Eva's reply is clear. "Yes." With 2 signatures and a few quiet words, it is done. 14 years of secrecy end in less than 10 minutes. A bottle of champagne is brought in. Glasses are poured. No one raises a toast. The air is heavy. Someone later says it felt like saying goodbye at a grave, not celebrating a beginning. Soon after, Hitler leaves the room. He walks slowly to another chamber. Not a bedroom, not a command center, but a narrow office with a desk, a chair, and a typewriter. There he sits down. Across from him is Traudl Junge, his young secretary. She places her fingers on the keys, waiting. Hitler begins to speak. This is not a confession, not an apology, not regret. He blames others. He repeats old hatreds. He claims history will judge him fairly. Then he pauses and gives one final instruction, spoken clearly without emotion. My body must not be taken. After my death, it must be burned. The sentence hangs in the air. Outside, Berlin continues to fall. Inside, the end has officially begun. April 29th, 1945. Betrayal, poison, and the end of trust. He remembered Mussolini. The images were still fresh in his mind. A broken body, hung upside down. Crowds screaming, hitting, spitting. Hitler would not allow that ending. With slow movements, he picked up the pen. His hand shook as he signed the document. This was not a law, not a speech, not an order to attack. It was his final command. By the time he finished, the clock showed almost 5 in the morning. There was nothing left to do. Hitler left the desk and went to a small private room. Not to sleep, no one truly slept in the bunker anymore, but to lie down and wait for the next hours to pass. Above them, Berlin was collapsing. Soviet tanks were breaking through the last defensive lines. Buildings were burning. Streets were filled with smoke, screams, and panic. Civilians ran with nothing in their hands. Some cried. Some hid. Some never stood up again. But deep underground, the bunker felt unreal. The walls were thick. The sounds were distant. Time moved slowly, like it was trapped. Eva Braun sat beside him. She held his hand. They spoke very little. There was nothing left to explain. They both understood. This was not a beginning. This was the end. This was their honeymoon. And their funeral. Later, a servant brought a small breakfast, a piece of dry bread, a little honey, a cup of weak tea. Hitler barely touched the food. He looked fragile, smaller. His face seemed older, like years had passed in weeks. His right hand trembled constantly. When he spoke, his voice was quiet, almost empty. He did not talk about victory. He did not talk about escape. He did not talk about the future. He simply sat, drinking tea slowly, while the earth shook above him. Then the report arrived. A message from outside the bunker. Heinrich Himmler, one of the most powerful men in Nazi Germany. A man who had followed Hitler for years. He had tried to contact the Western Allies, secretly, without permission. Hitler read the report again, and again. Then his control shattered. He shouted, he cursed, he slammed his fist against the table. Traitor! I trusted him. He ordered Himmler's arrest immediately, but even as he gave the command, he knew the truth. There was no system left to obey him, no power left to enforce his words. The machine he built was broken. For the first time, those in the room saw something new. Not rage, not arrogance, defeat. Hitler leaned back in his chair. His eyes lost their fire. The end was no longer approaching. It had arrived. Afternoon to late evening. By noon, the air inside the bunker had become heavy and uncomfortable. There was no sunlight, no fresh oxygen, only dim lamps, sweat, and fear. Hitler slowly entered the map room. Once, this room had been the heart of his empire. Generals had stood here. Orders had been shouted. Armies had moved. Now, the maps were meaningless. Lines showed divisions that no longer existed. Arrows pointed to places already lost. He stared at them silently. Not to plan. Not to fight. To remember. These maps were once promises of victory. Now they were memories of failure. His body shook as he stood there. His legs barely held him. His personal doctor offered medicine. Hitler refused, because deep inside, he knew. This was no longer a command center. It was a museum of collapse. There was only one living being he still trusted. Blondie, his German shepherd. She had been with him for years. Loyal, calm, always near, but now even trust felt dangerous. Hitler called his doctor, Werner Hasse. "Bring the cyanide capsules," he said. The room went silent. Then he added the words that shocked everyone. "We will test them. Not on a prisoner, not on an enemy, on Blondie." Why? Because Hitler trusted no one anymore. He believed someone might betray him even now. April 29th to 30th, 1945. The room that let nothing survive. Quietly, efficiently. That was how everything was done now. Hitler did not want leftovers, no bodies, no animals, no symbols. The bunker was no longer a shelter. It was becoming a place of erasure. In his mind, the rule was simple. If I disappear, then everything connected to me must disappear too. That afternoon, he asked for his remaining officers to be brought in. They stood before him, men who had followed his orders for years, who had once believed in victory. Now they were facing a man who looked smaller, older, almost hollow. Some still tried. "Mein Führer," one said quietly, "there is still a chance. A plane. A disguise. We can take you south." Hitler listened. Then he slowly shook his head. "No," he replied. "I will not run. I will not be captured." His voice was calm. "I will stay here. I will die here, in Berlin." The room was silent. Some faces showed shock. Some showed fear. Some showed something else. Relief. Because now they understood. They were free to leave. Hitler gave permission for those who wished to escape to try. Through tunnels. Through the sewers. Through the ruins. That night, drivers, aides, and officers prepared to go. Many would never make it. Hitler did not join them. He was finished with movement. Finished with plans. Finished with the future. Back in his private room, he sat beside Eva Braun. She had changed into a simple dark blue dress. No jewelry, no makeup. Her face was calm, steady. She had not cried. Not once. She looked ready. Hitler studied her for a moment and spoke softly. "You still have time," he said. "You can leave." Eva smiled, gently, almost kindly. "No," she answered. "I stay." It was not romance, it was not passion, it was loyalty, cold, absolute, unquestioning. They sat together without speaking. No music, no conversation, only the distant sound of Berlin breaking apart above them. Later, Hitler asked for his inner circle, secretaries, aides. The last people still connected to him. One by one, he shook their hands. There were no speeches, no dramatic words, only short sentences. "Thank you. You may go." Some cried quietly. Some held his hand longer than necessary. One secretary would later say he looked like a shadow, polite, distant, already gone. Hitler showed no emotion. That moment marked the end of his world. The people who once surrounded him like a ruler were now leaving, walking away down concrete hallways, carrying nothing but fear and uncertainty. When the doors closed, only Hitler and Eva remained. The night felt strange, almost calm. Hitler ate a small meal, dry bread, tea, the same as before. He sat with Eva. They exchanged only a few words. Outside, the explosions grew louder. Soviet soldiers were close now. Gunfire echoed near the garden above the bunker. Inside, Hitler was no longer reacting. He wrote briefly in a notebook. Not orders, not strategies, just words that would never change anything. The war, his war, was finished. Slowly, he stood up. His legs were weak, his steps unsteady. He walked toward the private bedroom. Eva followed. The door closed. Guards were placed outside. No one was allowed to enter. This was not a night for sleep. It was a night for preparation, because when morning came, nothing would remain. April 30, 1945, early morning time lost meaning inside the Führerbunker. Above ground, Berlin was being torn apart street by street. Explosions were constant. Gunfire never stopped. Inside, there was silence. Hitler lay on the bed, eyes open, staring at the ceiling. He was not sleeping. Eva lay beside him, peaceful, distant, already separated from the world. Down the corridor, staff whispered softly. No one knew what to say anymore. The bunker had become a waiting room for death. Hitler rose slowly. April 30th, 1945. The shot, the fire, and the empty throne. Hitler steps into the hallway. The corridor is narrow, dim, and quiet. The few people still inside the bunker stand frozen, as if time itself is holding its breath. One by one, he approaches them. There is no speech, no dramatic pause, only handshakes. Slow, firm, final. To some, he gives a short sentence. To others, only a nod. When he reaches his secretary, Traudl Junge, he looks at her and says calmly, "Thank you. You have served me well. You may go now." Her eyes fill with tears. Others cannot speak at all. They simply stare, unsure how to say goodbye to a man who once ruled their lives. Later, Rokas Mish would say, he didn't look like a man anymore. He looked like a shadow. The goodbyes continue. Quiet, orderly, emotionless, at least from him. Then it is over. Hitler turns away. He and Eva return to their private room. Inside, the air is still. Eva sits down on the sofa. Her face is calm, steady, almost peaceful. She opens a small metal capsule. Cyanide. She holds it in her palm and looks at Hitler. They have discussed this many times. There will be no capture, no trial, no public ending. They will die together. Hitler holds an identical capsule, but he does not rely on poison alone. On the table beside him lies his Walther pistol, the same weapon he has carried for years. He plans to use both. He calls in Otto Günsche and his valet, Heinz Linge. "The moment has come," he tells them. "You will wait outside. When it is finished, you will enter." They nod silently. They step into the hallway and stand just a few meters from the closed door. No one speaks. Inside the room, Hitler and Eva sit next to each other on the sofa. The clock shows around 3:30 p.m. This is the final scene. No one knows the exact order of events inside that room. Those outside hear only one sound, a single gunshot. Otto and Heinz rush in. What they see will become history. Hitler is slumped forward on the sofa. His body is motionless. A small wound is visible on his right temple. Blood has stained the carpet and the wall behind him. Eva Braun lies beside him. There is no blood, only the faint, bitter smell of cyanide in the air. They are both dead. The man who once commanded armies, controlled nations, and shaped history now lies lifeless in a small underground room. There is no drama, no final words, only silence. Otto and Heinz do exactly what they were ordered to do. They wrap both bodies in thick gray blankets. Carefully, quickly, they carry them up the narrow staircase, through tight corridors and out into the open air behind the Reich Chancellery. It is still daytime. Shells explode nearby. The ground shakes. Soviet troops are only minutes away. In the garden, they place the bodies into a shallow crater created by earlier bombing. Can after can of gasoline is poured over the blankets. Otto strikes a match. He drops it. Flames rise immediately. The fire grows. No music, no prayers, no flags, only smoke, fire, and fear. They salute briefly, then they run back inside as gunfire cracks overhead. Inside the bunker, the remaining staff gather. Otto speaks quietly but clearly. The Führer is dead. His body has been burned. No one reacts at first. No cheers, no relief. Just pale faces and empty eyes. Finally, someone whispers, "It's over." And it is. Everything Hitler built, his power, his control, his vision, is now burning in a garden. After 4 p.m., above the bunker, the fire continues. Black smoke rises into the broken sky. At first, the flames are strong, but soon they weaken. The ground is wet from rain. The gasoline supply is small. They pour more fuel. Light it again. Still, the bodies do not burn completely. Inside the bunker, time slows again. No one speaks about tomorrow. No one talks about victory or escape. May 1st and 9th, 1945. Ashes, silence, and what the world. Found, after Hitler's death, fear takes control. People inside the bunker begin packing small bags, warm coats, bread, water, old maps of Berlin. They understand one thing clearly. Staying means capture, and capture may mean torture, or death. But escaping is not simple. The city above is chaos. Tanks, fire, snipers, ruins. And now, with Hitler gone, leadership inside the bunker changes. Joseph Goebbels becomes the highest-ranking Nazi still alive there. He is not surprised by Hitler's death. He witnessed the goodbye. He knew it was coming. But Goebbels has no intention of escaping, no intention of surrendering. He calls his wife Magda. "We will not live in a world without him," he tells her. Together they make a decision that freezes everyone who hears it. They will die here, and they will take their 6 children with them. The staff are shocked. Some are horrified, but no one dares to stop them. While Goebbels prepares for death, others focus only on survival. Small groups begin planning escapes. Some choose underground tunnels. Some dress as civilians. Some wait for darkness. Just before sunset, the first group, around 20 people, leaves the bunker. They carry light bags and fake documents. But above ground, Berlin is already lost. Soviet tanks move through the streets. Gunfire fills the air. Buildings burn like torches. Only a few manage to disappear into the chaos. Most are captured or killed within hours. Back in the garden, Otto Gunsche and Heinz Linge return one last time. They inspect the remains of Hitler and Eva Braun. What they see troubles them. The fire did not finish its work. Parts of the bodies are still visible. Clothing is burned, skin is blackened, but faces and bones remain. They pour more fuel. Light it again. Still, it is not enough. In the end, they collect what remains and bury it in a shallow hole near the bunker exit. They cover it with dirt, broken wood, and rubble. No marker. No symbol. The goal is simple: disappearance. Underground, Magda Goebbels prepares her children. She gives them sleeping medicine. One by one, all 6 fall into deep sleep. They are dressed in clean white clothes. An SS doctor helps her give them cyanide capsules. None of the children wake up. They die quietly. Later, Josef and Magda Goebbels walk into the garden, the same place where Hitler died. Josef shoots himself. Magda takes poison. Their bodies are burned as well, imperfectly, like the others. By now, the bunker feels less like a shelter and more like a burial site. Hope is gone. Leadership is gone. Meaning is gone. Inside, the few remaining people wait. Some cry. Some drink. Some pray. Others sit silently staring at the walls. This is no longer a war. It is simply the end. May 1st to 9th, 1945. The bunker grows darker. The man it was built to protect is gone. His wife is gone. His inner circle is dead or scattered. Above ground, the battle for Berlin continues. Soviet soldiers fight street by street. Bullets echo. Grenades explode. Inside the bunker, only a handful remain. They are hungry, exhausted, trapped. No one knows if they will survive. That night, a voice appears on German radio. Admiral Karl Dönitz. He announces that Adolf Hitler is dead, but he lies about how. He claims Hitler died fighting for Germany, not suicide. The regime tries to protect the image, even in collapse. But the truth cannot be buried forever. Soon, Soviet troops reach the Reich Chancellery. They kill or arrest the last defenders. Then they go downstairs, into the bunker. They find darkness, water on the floor, broken furniture, maps still hanging on the walls, burned documents, poison capsules, bloodstains, and silence. One thing is missing: Hitler's body. The Soviets search everything: rooms,